What's up, everyone? It's been a minute. Let's come back to this. Concert review for the Misfits at Prudential Center, Newark, July 8th. So, like most metalheads, I got into the Misfits through the Metallica covers, but I did start listening to them sometime around, like, when I went to college, 10, 13 years ago, somewhere in that range. I'm old. I've enjoyed them, and they do seem to be culturally relevant. I mean, that t shirt is everywhere. Volbeat covered Angel Fuck. They're a band that has kind of kept up, sort of like the Ramones. I don't think either one had any major commercial success, but clearly have a huge influence on where we are today. It was a pretty stacked bill. So I'll actually start with the first band, Morning Noise, Morning with a U. I don't remember any names of songs. I did not know a damn thing about them before hitting the venue, but they killed it. Just great old school rock and roll, pretty energetic. They're listed online as being horror punk. I just thought rock and roll, which I guess in a way is kind of like the Misfits. If you gave them more traditional lyrics, you wouldn't think punk. At least I wouldn't. But there was a lot of energy. That frontman was probably like, I don't know, 21 years old, way younger than I am. He brought it. They were all great, and I love them, and I definitely need to listen to more of them. Fear, similar to the headliners, getting up there in age, really respectable to see them still putting it out. I've never been a huge fan of the music. My main connection to them is actually the movie Clue, where Lee Ving played Mr. Body, and of course MD45, the side project he did with Dave Mustaine in the 90s. I think the only song I knew from their set was Foreign Policy because Megadeth covered it on Dystopia, but it was still a really good time. Gaslight Anthem, I'm kind of curious whether they were just there because New Jersey, and that's okay. I mean, I'm not going to hold it against them. Their set was probably the least interesting to me. I remember there were a couple songs that I thought were pretty kind of interesting. I don't really know how I'd even describe it. Some of it did seem musical. I just wasn't really a fan, and I didn't know any of the songs going into it. But Misfits. So this was a great set. I remember they went overtime. Most arenas, you have to be done by 11. Anything union. I literally forgot until band introductions that Dave Lombardo was in the band. And I just read about in the last couple of months how what's his face from Seven Spires replaced Dave in Testament because he had to do Misfit shows. But it didn't even hit me. And that's a good thing because I think if I had known going in it was going to be Dave Lombardo, I would have been expecting double bass or his Slayer shtick. No, he just played to the songs, and in the best way possible, I didn't even notice it was him. So I got a bit of a kick out of how obviously roided up Doyle was. Sorry, if you're like 50 something and vegan, you're not going to look like that. But whatever, he's in better shape than I am. Danzig's voice sounded just like he did in the 80s, I think. They were down a half step, and the old stuff is in standard. But that's respectable for a band 40 years after they... 45 years, is it? Megadeth's down to D, Metallica's down to E flat. Who the fuck is still in the original tuning 40 years later? I guess Journey is, but they also replaced their vocalist. They played all the hits. I uploaded Where Eagles Dare, Last Caress, and Teenagers from Mars. The only one I wanted to hear but didn't was American Nightmare, and I think that's a fairly odd one that I'm just happen to be fond of. But it was just a really good feeling there. It's weird because it's in the name, Misfits. But this felt so together as an audience, like we were all together. We're a couple of misfits from Rudolph. A lot of metal shows, some of the older acts get this, but stuff where there's mosh pits, I remember, at least as a kid, I felt pretty out of place and was worried about the aggression. This was unified and just a loving audience. Who would have thought? I definitely remember, I found this entertaining. Danzig made a couple of not strictly PC comments. Dave Lombardo started the wrong song and he said he took his retard pills right beforehand. There was one other I wish I could remember, but it's been a minute. At least he's not pandering. Either way, great show. When they first announced these, the original Misfits, I think that started in 2016, I was thinking somebody got divorced and needed alimony. Most reunion tours are caused by divorce. But at this point, it seems like they're genuinely enjoying it. It's been 7 years. Maybe the first couple were money motivated. And with that in mind, I'd urge you to go see it while you can. Danzig's going to be 70 soon. They can't keep doing this for that much longer. Also, doing scattershot shows here and there. The band is, I think, entirely American, so they shouldn't need to worry about visas. I think they're just playing when they want to. And I respect that a lot more than going on tours that nobody wants to do. Or maybe they're just funding a vacation to Hawaii once a year. But who am I to say? Rock on, dudes.